our last presenter here today. Within our mission is to help provide education and treatment options to the entire cutaneous oncology community, and then most importantly, of course, our patients. She has kindly offered to share her personal experience with her own rare melanoma diagnosis. She's an advocate, speaker, writer, and as she likes to say, cancer thriver. Please help me in welcoming our patient speaker, Katie Doble.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. My name is Katie Doble, and 8 years ago, I was given 16 months to live. I share my story because I think it's a story of hope. I think that as rare melanoma patients, we are all clinging for hope. And so my goal today is to provide some of that for you. So in 2013, I was diagnosed with ocular melanoma or uveal melanoma. And I was having issues with my vision. So I went to my ophthalmologist. They thought it was maybe a retina tear. I was sent to a retina specialist. And right then and there, at 31 years old, I was diagnosed with uveal melanoma. So we have pancreatic cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer. And honestly, I wasn't exactly certain that melanoma was cancer. And so I'm sitting there by myself and I looked at the doctor and I said, like, cancer? And he said, yeah, you have cancer. So he told me that it affected 1 in 6 million people. And I called my sister. She's a nurse. She lives in town. She went with me that afternoon to see the doctor again. And she questioned this statistic and was quick to remind me I'm not that special. It actually affects 6 in a million people. Leave it to your siblings to kind of put it into perspective for you. And so I underwent a week of radiation plaque therapy, and it was determined when they biopsied the cells that I was a 1A, which meant that there was a less than 2% chance of metastatic disease. And so in 22 days, I had become a cancer survivor, and I thought that I was in the clear. And I thought with this statistic of a less than 2% chance of metastatic disease that I could just continue living my life. Fortunately, the doctors recommended ultrasounds every 6 months or so on the liver to just make sure that it hadn't spread. And in 2014, in November, during my second liver ultrasound, I received a phone call that afternoon from the oncologist herself. And when I present on this, I have a slide that says FDF, except it spells it out completely. And those were my thoughts when I got that voicemail from the oncologist. And I called her back panting, and she told me, Katie, there were 12 plus suspicious lesions on your liver, and it's likely that you have fallen into this 2% category. And I think this is so important because everyone clings to statistics until it's that. And so I just encourage people not to put too much stock in the numbers. I've been in that small margin many times, including good times when it was expected that I wouldn't do well. So anyway, that oncologist suggested I start on Yervoy. It was the only FDA approved option at the time. And that's when I learned that it had about a 16-month survival rate. My dad is a physician. He's an internist based in Omaha, Nebraska, and I have been very lucky to have him in my fight. I call him my agent. So he was on the phone with every doctor who would take his call all over the country to try to find us an option that would buy us more than 16 months. And with stage 4 cancer, really, it's about buying time. And so I canceled that first option of treatment. I canceled that and took a meeting at Memorial Sloan Kettering to explore. And it was a targeted therapy. I confirmed with Ashley this morning. I don't even know exactly what all my therapies have been, but it was a trametinib pill that was taken orally every day. And then 5 months or 6 months in, when I had continued growth, I took a second pill with a name that I still couldn't pronounce today. I was in that trial for about 8 months, and I flew back and forth for treatment, or what I would call my drug deal, to pick up my drugs once a month from Denver to New York City. And Once I had more growth, I got booted from that trial. And that's when we started talking to UC Health. Dr. Gonzalez, who's now retired, was my initial oncologist here. And he was someone whose name kept coming up. No matter where I was in the country, everyone was talking about Dr. Gonzalez. And another big learning for me in this journey has been Plan B. My doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering was always talking to us about Plan B. If this stops working, what are we going to do next? And I've heard of some oncologists or doctors who will get their feelings hurt if you seek a second opinion. And I think that's total BS. And so I also encourage patients, always be considering your other options. And if you ever have a doctor who takes offense to that, call them out. Dr. Pesto at Memorial Sloan Kettering, Dr. Gonzalez here, they saw me as Dr. Jim Ortman's daughter. They saw me as Nick Doble's wife. They didn't see me as their patient that they were trying to hoard. They saw me as a young woman that they were trying to help. And I've always really appreciated that in my cancer journey. So I did my first clinical trial at UC Health in 2016 and actually 2015, sorry. And once I had more growth from that and was booted from that trial, I did what's called a liver embolization at Skyridge here in town. And my liver responded really, really well to that. But the issue with the liver embolization was that it was a targeted treatment to the liver. It wasn't a systemic treatment. And so when they did that, they left half of my liver untreated so that we could go back and try additional systemic treatments. And so in 2016, I entered my third clinical trial, my second one here at UC Health, once there was additional growth to that untreated side. And I was in that for about 3 months before I was booted again. I always use the word I got expelled from my third clinical trial because I was kind of a goody-goody growing up, and that made me feel bold and exciting. And so we went back and we treated the second half of my liver. And so from 2016 to 2019, my liver was actually stable. We did have a hiccup in 2018 when I started to present stroke-like symptoms, and a brain MRI showed a spot on my brain. So I had Gamma Knife here at UC Health. In 2019, I had more growth in the liver, which was a bummer because I had had such a great run. And we started to explore the Plan B that we had on the table at that point, which was TIL therapy. So the two trials that I had at UC Health were immunotherapies, and TIL therapy is a cell therapy. And the hospital that offers it to uveal melanoma patients is UPMC in Pittsburgh, and then also MD Anderson does as well. So we went and met with UPMC. And I ended up mid 2020 enrolling in that trial and starting that process and that treatment. That's a tough treatment. So they laparoscopically removed a tumor from my liver. They fed Petri dish. I don't know. I grew the TIL, which stands for tumor infiltrating lymphocytes. And so that meant I could do next steps, which were a leukapheresis. So I went back for a leukapheresis where they gathered white blood cells, and then they fed those white blood cells to the TIL, which then multiplied it from the millions to the billions. And then in September of 2020, my husband and I went to Pittsburgh again. And I had a 23-day stay in the hospital where I had chemotherapy, TIL infusion, which was basically getting infused by myself. And then IL-2, which is a pretty extreme treatment to kind of kickstart the immune system again. One of the great things about getting treatment in the middle of a pandemic was that UC Health and UPMC were able to work together. And so Dr. Medina, I call her my primary oncologist. She's the one here who orders the scans for me, and Ashley is the one who takes my blood work. And it saves me thousands of dollars to be able to do this locally without having to fly back to UPMC every time I'm due for a scan, which is every 3 months or so. I responded really well to the TIL, but unfortunately, one tumor just kept growing. It was hollowing out from the inside. Dr. Kamula at Pittsburgh was so confused by it. And a year ago, in September of 2021, he said to me, I just want to cut it out. I wasn't about to argue with that. And so I went back to Pittsburgh last September and had half of my liver surgically removed. Dr. Kamula removed that tumor and all remaining cancer in my body. And when I woke up, I heard the words we never thought we would hear. They got it all, Katie. You are no evidence of disease. So for the last year, I just had scans here last week. And I'm 1 year now, no evidence of disease, which is a complete miracle. And so thank you for just hearing my story today. And I hope that provides a little bit of hope, because I know that's something we're all looking for.